Thank you, members. We'll start on agenda item number 1, urgent business. Sorry, Mr. White, any apologies?
Thank you, Chair. Good morning, members. We've got apologies from Councillors Chown, Foss and Panel. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you. Agenda item number 1, urgent business. There are no items of urgent business. Agenda item number 2, there shouldn't be a need to divide the agenda for exempt information. Agenda item number 3, in accordance with the Code of Conduct, members are invited to declare any disclosable pecuniary interest, other registrable interests and non-registrable interests, including the nature and extent of such interests they may have in any items to be considered at this meeting. Does any member wish to declare an interest?
I do, Chairman.
Councillor Baston, interest?
I have my bin collected every week, and they've collected it for months after month after month. I just wanted to declare that. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Baston. So we move to the main agenda and then the only agenda item, which is agenda item number 4. Can I ask Councillor Baldry, the lead member, to introduce the item?
Thank you, Chairman, and thank you, members, for turning out for this very important special council meeting. We need you here in order to get approval to the recommendations, which are going forward in a very positive manner. As the papers indicate, Chairman, the improvement in the service since we took it back at the beginning of October is tremendous, and that is due to a lot of hard work by a lot of people. But before I get to that, may I actually say thank you to you members, because when the service was anything but perfect, you put up with an enormous amount of flack. You are in the front line of taking the flack from the public. So thank you very much for all that you put up with. And I hope that going forward, an awful phrase, I mustn't use that, for in the future, I hope in the future, once this is approved today, the service will show the sort of level of service which our public have got a right to expect. And also, talking to the public, I apologise to the public once again for the bad service you had. And as the paper indicates, up until this coming October, many of you are going to receive a less than perfect service. Less than half the South Hams are getting the full Devon the Line service. And if you approve this today, we will be able to give to nearly everybody the full Devon the Line service. And we will, as a result of that, be collecting the full range of recycling materials. In particular, from my point of view, the one desperate thing I want to get into the district is a weekly food waste service. But in addition, we will be providing separate recycling for glass, paper, card, metal and plastic. So this is a positive story going forward. We have, as you would have read it in the papers, now we have got the service back on course. We have been able to show improvements in other areas, and we're moving out into doing other improvement items. We're doing litter bins. We are last week, clearing litter from the A38. We are dealing with littering and fly tipping, and we got the street sweeper back on board. The service improvement is enormous, but the best part of this paper is the fact that if approved today, we would be able to provide a service to our council taxpayers that they deserve, bearing in mind that about half of them have not been getting an equitable service with other people. The recommendations are in front of you. They are, I think, technically a recommendation from the executive, which met this morning, but the recommendations are the same. I am very proud of what's been achieved by a fantastic team of SLT people and the waste team, a few of whom are sitting in the room today. They have worked so very hard to get the service back on course. So through you, Chairman, I would like to thank them for everything they've done. Thank you.
Thank you. Do we have any questions regarding it? No? Then can we have Councillor Spencer?
Thank you. Thank you very much indeed for the report. Thank you very much indeed for the report. Bearing in mind a picture paints 1,000 words, I was particularly drawn to page 9 and 10, and under 4.2, a graph of what looks like virtually no missed collections per 100,000. And on table 2 on page 10 and table 3, similar sorts of progress. Just one question, however, with our great data systems that we have at South Hams, is there a March figure, please?
Councillor Baldry?
The figure I have got is for February, which is in the papers, which, as you would appreciate, have to be published a little while ago. But I think Mr. Molyneux has the March figure right at his fingertip. No, it isn't. Mrs. Moody has it.
Thank you, Councillor Baldry. Yes, so just to set the scene then, so the national indicator for miscollections is no more than 80 per 100,000. You're quite right, Councillor Baldry. In February, the team achieved 64, and the month of March was 74.
Thank you. Any further questions from members? Councillor Sweet.
Hi, thank you. I just wondered what the date was for all the staff contracts to have been signed by, and whether that has all been completed now. But you know, like collection workers, because yeah, I just sort of heard that there's been some delays in some contracts being signed due to waiting for payments from overtime from the Christmas period.
Councillor Baldry.
Can I ask Mr. Molyneux to answer that? Mrs. Moody again, sorry, sir. So,
Thank you, Councillor
next time
Baldry.
I shall say I'll ask Mrs. Moody to answer that, and Mr. Molyneux will do so.
Thank you for your question, Councillor Sweet. So there's a handful of contracts whereby the members of staff have chosen not to sign it, which is well within their right. I think there's 2 now outstanding out of all the staff, but the rest of them have been signed and are now implemented from the 1st of April. So there aren't any delays.
Okay, thank you.
Any further questions from members? No, so we will then move to the recommendation. Can I have a proposer for the recommendation?
Proposed, Chairman.
Councillor Baldry proposes, seconded by
I'll second.
Councillor Pearce. So we move then to the debate. Would you like to introduce the debate, Councillor Baldry?
Very briefly, I think the paper is very self-explanatory. Councillor Sweet asked about staff. Can I just draw your attention to the fact, which is in the paper, that the contractor, when they had the service, used an enormous amount of agency staff. We've moved way away from that. We don't have to have agency staff anymore. And I have the privilege of seeing the recruitment figures for this council, and where the contractors seem to find it very difficult to get drivers and loaders, we are very successful, and each week we are recruiting additional drivers and loaders. I've nothing more to say, Chairman. Happy to move into the debate.
Councillor Pearce, do you wish to speak or reserve the right to speak at the end?
I'd rather speak at the end, please, Chairman.
Members, we move therefore to the debate. Do any members wish to speak on the debate? Yes. Councillor Taylor.
Yes, thank you very much. I think this is an excellent report, and the sooner it's activated, and I think this is by October at the end of the year, my residents will be delighted with this, because they're fed up with putting recycle in bins and then get it into coal mixed lorries. So I think it would be a no-brainer, this one. I think everybody should vote for it, because it's a way forward, and I think our team has worked very hard to put this together, and I think it's an excellent move. So please support it. Thank you.
Councillor Brown.
Thank you, Chairman. Yes, like Councillor Baldry, I'd like to thank officers and indeed Councillor Baldry himself for this very good and very useful report. It shows that we can move forward with this now. We can deliver the waste service to residents, which they have the right to expect, and with the hopefully an eye on full implementation of the Devon aligned waste strategy, which, as far as I'm concerned personally, has been working very well. I think separating waste has been a fantastic idea, and it does encourage people to recycle more. And I think people like that. So I'm fully in support of this, and will be voting in favour. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Hodgson.
Thank you, Chair. Yeah, I just actually wish to echo what's already been said, but just to say how vital this is actually to really helping how we are, dealing with our climate emergency plans. It's a very important part of it to actually get the waste collection right. It's always known as not rocket science, but it can actually be quite complex if it's not dealt properly. And I think the fact we've taken it back in house and we have an excellent team of officers, I think it's really working. And I just want to say that I shall be happily supporting the recommendations. Thank you.
Councillor Smurden.
Thank you, Chairman. Yes, I'm happy to support this. I hope that by taking these moves, it will put the waste and recycling service on a firm footing going forward. Obviously, the work, etc., that has gone into this and into these proposals being done by the waste team, who, let's not forget, are the officers who have borne the brunt of the problems over the last year or so, and are the ones who have put together the service and redesigned it, remodelled it, so that it is now working as well as possible and to our residents' benefit. So I am happy to support that we take these measures. Thank you.
Councillor Birch.
Thank you. Yes, I'll be supporting this recommendation, and I think a big thanks should go to Councillor Baldry, Mr Molyneux and Mrs Moody, together with the team. I think they've done a wonderful job rescuing this council from the mess that started in 2021. I mean, we still have 23,000 houses with a substandard service, and this will go, hopefully, to by October, this council will be able to provide a service that it should have been providing since the beginning of 2021. The fact is, this mess has cost this council over £5 million. Now, earlier at the executive meeting, one of the executive members said that this is a good news story. It isn't a good news story. It's a sorry state of affairs that this council has had to spend over £5 million to rescue a service that it should have been provided properly from the beginning of 2021. So as I said, I will be supporting this recommendation, but I don't think we should describe it as a good news story. It's a sorry state of affairs that has been rescued. Thank you.
Councillor Hopwood.
Thank you, Chairman. Councillor Birch, you continually over social media in this council say about £5 million cost. Could you break that down for us, please?
Yeah. Want me to do that now?
Yes, please.
Okay. Thank you for giving me the opportunity. Right. First of all, all these figures are contained within council reports, so they're not figures that I've made up. They're all within council reports. First of all, there is the one-off setup costs, which were in the September 2022 report, were estimated at 1.25 million or 1.5 million. Secondly, there are the transitional costs, which are 12 months at 290,000, totaling 3.5 million. On top of that, there are additional annual costs between 1.25 million and 1.5 million. If you add all these up, it comes to over £5 million. I believe the sum is actually more because the contract with FCC, I think, was due to expire in 2027, and therefore there are the additional costs between now and 2027 that are going to incur this council in additional costs. £5 million is on the low side, and that is what those are the figures that are all within the papers that are in the public domain. Thank you.
Chairman, can I continue? Sorry.
Councillor Hopwood, yeah.
Thank you. I've just got some questions that need answering before I can carry on. Could Mrs. Buckle give her answer to the? Does Mrs. Buckle agree with what's just been said? Have the setup cost been £5 million?
Mrs. Buckle.
Thank you, Chairman. I think the financial implications are set out in the report. The one-off costs were 1.25 million. However, that has been funded mainly from a contribution from the contractor, but also some deductions which were made from the contract. And also some additional recycling income which was put into that reserve. The transitional costs have been 3 million. I think it is extremely difficult to make any meaningful comparison between the contracted service costs and the cost of an in-house service, and that's because there have been many external factors which have impacted on the cost of the service. Not least, we've had a pandemic during those years which has impacted on things like the mix of recyclate and the types of materials that are being collected. We've had other external factors such as general inflation, the costs of fuel, the HGV driver shortage, pay inflation. The recycling market has constantly been changing. Therefore, I think it's very difficult to make a meaningful comparison between a contracted service and an in-house service. The council has saved money from the contracted service because obviously during those first 3.5 years of the contract, some of those additional costs was being borne by the contractor. I think the primary consideration is around performance, and as well as improvement in performance, which the report very clearly sets out. The report sets out that the waste service will now meet the needs of the residents, the Environment Act, and improve the council's recycling targets. And that's all within the budgets which have been agreed by members and has been set out within the medium-term financial strategy. Thank you.
Councillor Hopwood, does that answer your questions you were putting?
Yeah, can I continue, please?
Yeah.
Thank you, Mrs. Buckle, and thank you, Councillor Birch, for giving me your breakdown of the £5 million. So I hope now that you'll agree that you are completely wrong, and that everything you put over social media and Facebook is not correct. So thanks, Mrs. Buckle, for saying what you've said. Having said all that, the residents are getting from October a service, a full Devon Align service that most councils aren't delivering. We are going to be delivering a full service, and I hope that if anybody has put in their election leaflet that they've been let down because they're not getting a full service, maybe you'd like to amend your leaflet and say it will be coming in October. Thank you.
Councillor Keller.
Thank you. Well, we were told June, but anyway, it's October now. So I do welcome this positive report, but I don't think people will easily forget the pretty disastrous privatisation we had, which it took us too long, in many people's opinion, to extricate ourselves from. Having said that, I did want to mention something which I did mention at the briefing we had last week, but I don't know if everybody was there, so perhaps take the opportunity to mention it again. It's specifically on the perhaps the flexibility of the service going forward. I do have some reservations about the boxes that we use. And living in Kingsbridge as I do, we have a lot of houses of multiple occupation, homes for the elderly, in fact elderly people, vulnerable people, and I'm still getting people not complaining about the waste service per se now, but about the struggling with boxes. So I haven't heard what we might be doing about that, if anything. I did have one elderly lady who said she couldn't get any help because she couldn't deal with the boxes, she didn't have any side access, she couldn't get assisted collection because the officers who deal with the waste collection are not insured to go inside houses, and she didn't have anyone else to help her. She may not well be the only one, and those sort of people, she didn't have an online facility. It's difficult to get help without being online these days. And so one does wonder, it does make you sort of wonder whether we are perhaps need to look at how we actually do the service. I mean, having got it together, it's great news that we are on the right track, but perhaps we can look at flexibility and how we provide the service going forward. Thanks very much.
Mr Molyneux, would you like to come back on that?
Thank you, Chairman. As Councillor O'Callaghan said there, we recognise that there are some residents that it doesn't quite fit, whether it's access issues. I know, I also live in Kingsbridge. There are residents near me with lots of steps and carrying a box down steps, the same in Dartmouth as well. So we recognise that, but the important thing here is we took the service back, we've improved the service significantly. We're now saying we can roll out the Devon Line service to all residents in October if members approve this. And I think we are looking to build in some flexibility going forward. And there's mention in the report about, recognising that we need to meet the needs of the Environment Act and collect food waste, as Councillor Baldry said, on a weekly basis. But we also need to look and explore options to do the right thing for communities as well. And we've left the door open in the report to say that we will look at that in the future, but I don't think we should be distracted by the primary objective as get as many of our residents and households as possible onto the full service, and then we can look at the smaller number where that doesn't quite work, is my comments. Thank you.
Thank you. Do any members who haven't spoken so far wish to speak in the debate? Councillor Hawkins.
Thank you, Chairman. First of all, I'd like to repeat what most of the councillors have already said, to thank Steve Molyneux and Sarah Moody and the team at South Hams Council, who have done a huge amount of work in the last 12, 18 months, 2 years even perhaps, when we were negotiating still with FCC. They've done a fantastic job to turn it round. And in my patch and in most of the South Hams, I believe our collection rate now is exemplary. We've done a really good job. I do think it's a good news story because we're now going forward. And from the past, most of my parishes and my residents were asking, when will the Devon Line service be rolled out in my part of the area, or when will food waste be collected? And I do know that Councillor Baldry has always wanted the food waste to be collected across the district, and this new, when we vote on this, this will take place in October. So it is a good news story because we're going forward. We've listened to our residents. We're doing what our residents want and our parishes want. Going to the recommendation A and B, most of that, well, all of that money, in fact, probably or very close to all of that money, would have had to be spent in any case. It would have had to be spent whether we had a contractor or whether it was in-house. So it had to be spent, and that has to be a way forward. I would just like to thank all of you for all the hard work and effort. And one people I've forgotten the most, which is the one most important, is the gentlemen and the ladies actually on the street, actually doing this service. They do a fantastic job. It's not a nice job, but they really should be thanked because they have turned this service round, and we should thank them very much. Thank you, Chairman.
Councillor Long.
Thank you, Chairman. I think with this, we have to look to the future and provide the services that local residents want and expect, and I believe we are heading in that direction well. It is work in progress, as is quite clearly been shown in this report and right the way through over the last couple of months. And there will need to be changes to work through. We need to be more flexible. Bringing it back in-house, I'm delighted we've got it back in-house and we can show the residents that we can make it work. And basically, we need to be able to respond and make changes, and I believe we can do that. We couldn't do it under the previous contract. And one of the things is to note that's already been said, it's not just waste collections, it is street sweeping, it's litter bin collections, it's toilet cleaning, it's the fly tipping, all of that. And I hope and expect that we'll have greater flexibility in being able to respond to what residents want, what needs to be done, and make sure that we provide a service that is deserved and can be seen to be the best in the area. And I know it's already been said, I'd like to thank the officers and the team who have worked through all of this. It hasn't been easy, it's been difficult. I think at times it's been very traumatic, particularly bringing it back, the process of bringing it back in-house and then doing the work to make sure we can provide what we need to do. I know it's already been said now, but to really acknowledge all the workers out there doing everything that they can. I've seen a fantastic improvement in their the feeling, their morale, and I think they're providing a fantastic service. And I know that people are passing comments to me that the workers seem to be more cheerful in doing their jobs, and it's amazing that we're managing to actually recruit where the previous contractor could not. And I believe that's because what we're doing is they're part of a team, and I hope, and I've seen it for myself at the Ivy Bridge depot, there aren't the barriers. There isn't the them and us, and I think that's what it's got to be. And I think it's got to be working through from the councillors, the officers, everybody involved. And I think everybody has done a fantastic job to get this back in-house. And I look forward to having a service that we can say is superb in the future, and that residents really do recognise this. But it's going to mean hard work, and it's still going to be ongoing. We're not going to complete everything on the waste side until October, but there's a lot more flexibility there and a lot more to be done. But I do appreciate the work that's gone through so far. Thank you, Chairman.
Councillor Sweet.
Thank you. Well, there's not much to say now because I think Councillor Long's kind of said everything and touched on everything and, mentioned the trauma of, undergone by the staff and the thanks to the people on the ground. So I'm not going to say it's already been said because it's already been said. But yeah, massive thank you to everybody. I did just want to expand a bit on the street cleansing because I think that is something that really needs to be looked at moving forward. I think, obviously I'm in Totnes. I know I still sweep the street every day in front of my shop, as do all the other shopkeepers. Our litter bins on the street are still only deep cleansed, I think, once a year, which, I think really they need to be done every week or at least every month. So I think there's so many details that can be added into what hopefully is, a much more thorough and a resident and visitor friendly service, from now on. The worst, I hope, is over, and yeah, look forward hopefully to being involved in some of that moving forward. Thank you.
Councillor Brazil.
Thank you. Yes, I too welcome this report and would like to extend my thanks to Steve and Sarah and in particular Keith, my colleague Keith, for all the hard work they've done to get where we are. But rather echoing the words of Denise, I do think this is this is the start and certainly not the finish. I think there is still a long way to go in respect of coming up with solutions to some of the more idiosyncratic issues and problems that we have due to the different geographical area. I've never been in favour of a one size fits all, and I think as long as we have that flexibility, and I was pleased to hear Steve say that, then I'm sure that we can move forward with a collection service which we can be proud of. I mean, in the end, it's the biggest service that this council provides, and in a way we are judged on how well we do it. So I think the onus is on all of us, including not only us but also the officers and the dustmen and dust ladies who I think do a fantastic job. I have to say, I agree with that, to make sure that we put this council in the best light possible. Thank you.
Councillor Holway.
Thank you, Chairman. As someone who's going to be a mere resident shortly, I think the word that comes to mind is confidence. Having seen the improvements that have been made, and I echo everything that everyone else has said, but seeing the improvements on the ground that are so dramatic, it gives me absolute confidence in the team and everything they're doing. And that confidence also gives me the confidence to see that they've got to grips with the real cost of the Devon Line service and keeping within the Environment Act. And I think that's important because unfortunately, a while ago, without saying too much, that wasn't realised. We can all now be a bit wise after the event and say, well, maybe that contract was too good to be true. But we didn't know that at the time. And we know now, and I'm confident that what we've been given today to approve is going to get us there and is going to be on target or within target. And I think that's great, and it's the way forward. Thank you.
Do any members who haven't spoken wish to speak at this point? No? Okay, so Councillor Pearce, you reserve the right to speak as the seconder.
Yeah, thank you, Chairman. We've listened to what everybody said, and I agree with the great majority of everything that's been said. But I don't think this debate should finish without my making a personal tribute to Councillor Baldry for everything he's done to get this back on track. It was already unusual that he accepted to come on the executive as leader of the opposition, but he did, and I was very grateful to him. And he has turned out to be exactly the right man for the job. I mean, it was a bit of a kind of hazard as far as I was concerned that he was chosen for it, but my goodness me, has he made a good job of it. He's been on top of his brief. He's been absolutely there every time, well prepared, and has worked very collaboratively with the officers, whom I would also like to thank for all their hard work. And also the members of the Waste Working Group, because you've done a sterling job too. And Jackie and Mark, as observers, you have also played your part. So thank you very much. And I think it has been really useful to have representatives from all political aspects of the council on board as we've moved forward. I know not all members have been on board, and not all members have been on board all the time, but again, largely thanks to Councillor Baldry, the majority of members have been taken with this all the way through. It's not been easy, but it's very easy now to criticise the contract, but I think at the time, with what we knew and what we had in front of us, the right decision was taken. But we've also taken the right decisions to put it right, and we are where we are now. But Councillor Baldry, a special thanks to you for everything you've done. And again, thank you to the officers, and please pass it on to the rest of the team, because waste escalation in particular has been our link with you, and they've done a brilliant job. So I know that some of them aren't there anymore, but you know, the ones who are there are still at it. I know, because I've been in contact with them this week about a problem. So please thank them. Right. Thank you, everybody. And thank you for your support. What sounds like your support today, but I'll wait until the vote's taken.
Councillor Baldry, as the main proposer, would you like to close the debate?
Yes, thank you, Chairman. Thank you, Leader, for what you just said. I had scribbled a few notes, but I should say, reply to what you said. Thank you very much for giving me the opportunity. It was good to get back into an operational job. I've enjoyed my time as a member of your executive. And as you know, I was not in favour of the privatisation, but once you appointed me, I saw it as my job to get the service to work properly, which is what I've tried to do. And it's can I use an old-fashioned term? I think it is part of all of us as members, our duty to do the best we possibly can for our residents, and I thought it was part of my duty to do so. Lots of thanks have gone out already, and I echo all of those. Just picking up a couple of points from the debate, if I may. What Julian Brazil just said about improvement, of course, it is where we are now is because of a continuous improvement, and it is a sign of a successful organisation that you do continuously improve. And that is what I am confident is going to happen in the months and years ahead to the Waste and Recycling Service. We have achieved this within the revenue budget. And I think that is a point worth making. It has been done, as Jackie Hodgson quite rightly said, it is going to do a great deal for improving the climate change needs of this district as we bring in bigger and better recycling services. That is being done, I think, top of the list is for climate reasons. Behind me we said we were going to bring this in June. Last September's paper said we're going to bring it in June, and I'm very disappointed we haven't done so. But the paper outlines the reasons. It's partly because of the Environment Act, but much more important because we need to procure additional vehicles, and they have a lead-in time. We are saying in the paper we're only going to achieve this for 98% of the district, and the reason for that is because there are special cases we will not be able to give the full service to. Denise O'Callaghan has mentioned one of them, houses in multiple occupancy, which you don't want to collect waste necessarily in the full range of breakdown from them, and there are other geographical reasons why we're not able to do it for more than, so that is why it is for 98% and not for 100%, because there are special reasons. And finally, it comes out in the paper, you will realise it is the enormous improvement in the morale of the staff, and I echo my thanks to the staff. They now enjoy working for us, and they may not have enjoyed working for the previous regime. We have taken them on board, we're treating them decently, and they're enjoying working for South Hams, and that is, again, credit to the team and the way in which they have treated them. Thank you, Chairman.
Thank you, members. You have the substantive motion in front of you. I intend to take the recommendation as a whole. So you'll be voting on the entire recommendation with all parts A, B, C and D. And having concluded the debate, we will now move to the vote. So all those in favour?
Thank you, Chair. That's 23 and unanimous. Thank you.
That was a unanimous vote, was it? Thank you, Mr. White. Members, that now brings us to the end of this special council meeting. Since this is the last council meeting of this administration, I'd like to take the opportunity to thank all members and officers for their hard work over the past 4 years. For those of you that are re-standing in the forthcoming elections, I wish you every success with your campaigns. And for those who have chosen not to re-stand, I wish you every success and happiness in your new pursuits. Thank you for your attendance, and I will now declare the meeting closed. Councillor Smurden.
Thank you, Chair. Before you do declare the meeting closed, I would like to take this opportunity. Firstly, remiss of me not to mention Councillor Baldry in the debate that we've just had. Councillor Baldry has Councillor Baldry shouldered the responsibility and the problems of the waste service, and I've known Councillor Baldry as a member of this council since I've been here, and whilst we have been on opposite sides to a certain extent, but within the waste working group on the same side, I for one will miss, and I'm sure, I hope I speak for the rest of my group, I for one will miss his wise words, and if we did disagree, we always disagreed politely, and I for one, wish him a happy retirement. I would also like to take this opportunity, yes, I'm quite happy to give applause. I'd also like to take this opportunity to thank our leader, Councillor Judy Pearce. I know the executive did so this morning, but as a mere member of the council and not an executive member, I felt that we should mark this occasion. You've led us for 4 years. I don't think anybody anticipated just how tough they would be, but you have not buckled throughout the whole sorry saga, and I hope now. Sorry, I hope now. But with the so, what?
So it wasn't all that bad.
It's not all a sorry saga. Well, it was.
Well, you know the sorry saga, which I think you know the sorry saga, which I'm referring to. Anyway, but you have not buckled at all, and for that I commend you very much. You know, I think we all owe you a great debt of gratitude for the responsibility which I don't think you anticipated you were going to take on, but you have borne. I was going to say manfully, but it's not. Which you have borne womanfully, and although diminutive in stature, you are large in courage, and I thank you on behalf of members. I thank you very much for your leadership. Thank you.
Thank you for your attendance, members. I now declare the meeting closed.